As we are done with the authorization, let's start adding some backend functionalities to the family tree controller. First of all, let's start with create. Create. We will be getting some request. Before that, let's add an index. Okay. So let's add an update. Let's copy that one and update. Let's add one for view. And one more for delete. So these are the basic functionalities which we are going to do on a family tree controller. So we can do the same thing in a different way in Laravel. Instead of adding all these functions manually, we have another option. We can add these regular CRUD functions through command line. So let's take a terminal. So let's create a new controller. Let's create a test controller with -r, which is for resource. Well, so you can see like we have index, then like we have create, we have store, we have show, edit, update, and destroy. So all the basic CRUD operations are automatically added in the controller itself. So yeah, just wanted to show you how it can be done. So let's delete that one for now. Now let's start with the index. So here, like, okay, we wanted to fetch all the family trees. So let's do that. Let's add the family tree. So it's ordered automatically over there in the top. Now let's do an all, which actually fetch all the records of that particular model, that is like from the family tree table. And let's copy a return statement, and it will return all these family trees as a JSON object. So for create, we will be getting a request from the front end, which is basically a name and a description. So we will need to validate the inputs with using the validator function, which we did in auth controller. So let's get that one. So let's copy that. Let's put it there. Like we have the validator need to be added on the top. Okay. So we have a name. So let's add a validation for name, and we can remove that. And I think we are validating only the name, like description is optional. So just name, and once it is validated, so we will need to add a family tree, a new object. and in that, like, we can assign the input request variables. Request name, and let's copy that. For description, same there. We will have a created by and updated by, and we can get the requested user from auth user. So user equal to auth user, so let's get ID from that user. Same here. And let's save it. Now we can just return the response as we did in auth controller. So we can just return the family tree object as it is. Fine. Now, along with creating the family tree, we need to save uh, the role of the user on the family tree as well. So which we have to define it on the user roles table, where we keep the family tree ID and the user ID and the role. So we have to add a row for that as well. So after saving this family tree, like, we will add and record in user roles for the family tree created with the creator as the admin. So let's add it. It will be user role new user role. Okay, it has been added. And it's a user ID. It will be the same as user ID. And it's a family tree ID. Will be the ID of the family tree just created. And for the role, we can hard code it to admin. Let's keep the full administrator fully. And we have the created by, updated by, and all this stuff, which is same as in the family tree. So let's copy that and put it over there. So make sure like okay, the variable is same, and let's save it. We don't have to mention the updated at and created at, because they will be populated by default with the current timestamp. So with that, the creation is done. For show, we will not be getting a request information. Instead, we will be getting a family tree ID. So we will add it as a variable. Let's give FID. And we have to get it from the family tree model. Family tree, find with the ID. And we will return with the same response. And for delete, it is the same, like okay, we get the same family ID as the input, and also we will be doing the same, like okay, we will be finding it, and then like we will be deleting that record. So let's copy that. And we can just mention a delete there. So it will delete a record. And we cannot send a response back, so we will need to send a message, a simple message back, which we might have done in our controller. So let's copy that one. Logo, yeah, okay, let's copy that one and put it over there. So just saying like okay, it has been family tree deleted. Fine. We need to get the update. We will do that later. So let's test all this stuff like which we have done so far. Before that, we missed one important thing. We defined all these models, but forgot to define the relationship between these models. So let's add those relationship. So let's get into the models. User model. So by default, there are a lot of comments over there. So let's remove that. So we have a hidden set of fields, that is password and remember tokens are hidden. So we have to define similarly in family tree and other models. So let's copy that stuff. So we don't want to show these IDs created by and created at those information. So let's keep it as hidden. So let's keep ID and created by, same for updated by. And same like updated, created at and updated at. We will need to replicate the same thing in other models as well. So let's copy that and put it on members. The member relations. And specifically in the user, we definitely don't want to expose our user ID. So just mention the ID as well there in the protected, sorry, in the hidden fields. Fine. So let's define the relationship between the family tree and members and all. Function family tree. So a member belongs to a family tree. So let's return this uh, belongs to. Okay, do single arrow. Oops. Okay. App slash family tree. So the member belongs to a family tree. Similarly, like the family tree will have many members, that is has many members. So let's copy that and could put it on family tree. So here a family tree has multiple members. So that is like, okay, for a same family tree ID, we will have multiple records in the member table. So instead of belongs to, it will be has many. It will be member. And similarly, like we will have multiple records for in the user role as well. So let's define the relation in the user role table as well. Okay, we missed the hidden stuff. So let's get that. So here like we have a member ID as well. Let's check the column. It's a user ID. It's not member ID. It's a user ID. And now for the relations, let's get it from members. Where is the members? Member. Okay. And then user and paste it out there. Okay. Fine. So these are the basic relations which are required. We will define more relations like as we develop. Now we have the ID and all as hidden. So specifically in case of ID, we want an identifier for the front end. Like currently, like we are not sending it to the front end because it is hidden. It won't be exposed. But we need an ID to identify a particular object. Then only like, okay, we can identify a specific member or a specific family tree. Like if we want to edit also, like, okay, we need to send a specific ID from the front end. But we don't want to expose the ID that is in the database. So we have to send an encrypted ID. But we already know, like, okay, we already used in password, like, okay, we have the cryptography functions inside the Laravel itself, that decrypting. But that is too long for an ID. So we just want a simple hashing that is not much complex. That is just to protect the ID from the eyes, actually, like just don't want to expose the database ID as it is to the front end. But we just need that ID as well, like when we get into the database. So we just hash it, and when it comes to the database, that is like when it comes to the backend, we will decrypt the same thing. So we will be using a small package for doing the hashing. So that is Laravel hash ID. So let's install that one. So let's open a terminal and put it back. It has been installed. So now let's see like how we can use it. So we need to execute one more thing. So it's if Laravel is of version 5.5, then there is another one. So let's use that one. Okay, and let's see the config file for hash ID. Okay, and here we are using the hash ID integer as the driver, and so we can define the salt. The salt is nothing but a key for encryption. So we can define the hash ID integer salt in the environment file .env file. So let's keep a key. I'm just going to give like let's say secret key 007. Fine. And we can add one more option that is for the minimum length. What was the variable? Yeah, hash ID integer min length. So let's keep it as 6. Maybe, yeah, let's keep it as 6. Now let's save it and let's get back. Now as we are hiding the ID and all, like let's check in Insomnia how it is responding. So let's execute the profile. So we can see the ID is not coming, but we have the created at and updated at and email verified at which we don't want. So let's go and hide it. So let's copy that. And email verified at. Okay. So we wanted to hide the ID, but we wanted to send the encrypted ID. So for that, like what we can do is instead of that ID, we will be passing a encrypted ID as an attribute, additional attribute for that model. So that need to be defined as an attribute. So let's define that. So it will be get whatever the attribute name we have to give us. So let's give a kind of let's say xid and the attribute. So that convention is very important. And let's return the encrypted ID. So let's use that class, that is hash ID, and we have the function for encode. And let's pass the ID of this model. So it's this arrow ID. And now we need to add this, in fact append this attribute to the user model. So we can define like the attribute names as an array. So important thing is like the terminology is very important. It should be get the attribute name and the attribute. And let's import the class as well. So we can get it there and just add into our file. Fine. So let's check it in Insomnia, like how the encryption is working. So let's try now. Yeah, now we are getting an encrypted ID instead of the database ID. So also like, okay, we have the created at those timestamp also hidden. Well, like, okay, we are getting like the XID right now as of length 6, if you see. So let's see like what if we are not going to give a 6 in the environment variable. So let's for now let's remove that stuff, save it, and let's try again. So let's send. So you can see like, okay, it's pretty short. So it's very pretty short for a encrypted ID. So let's give back a 6 there. Yeah. Fine. Now we have to encrypt all these IDs, like and all the models. We have to do the same thing. So let's start with family tree. Let's add that stuff. Add the class. As we are using the column name as ID, we can just copy paste the stuff. In member as well. And also in member relation. Well, now I think like we have encrypted the ID in all the models. Let's close all these windows and let's get back to family tree controller. Now let's create a few family trees with name. For that we will need to add the API routes for create and all these functionalities. So let's go back to API. In Visual Studio Code, we can even find and open the file by some shortcuts like Control P. It will we can just search and find the file. So let's define the routes. Let's copy that. It will be a family tree. So it's a family tree controller. it will be create. Let's add one more for update, where we'll be passing the ID. It will be update. And let's add one more route for show, and it will be a get request. We need another get route for index, so let's define on top. So where there we don't need ID, we will be fetching all the family trees with that. And one more for delete, we will be passing ID, so it's a delete. So we have defined the RESTful APIs. So let's see how things are going to work. Let's go to Insomnia and test our API routes. So here we can create a folder, so that we can group the modules separately. So here we will put family tree and add a new request. So it will be index, and it is a get. Let's create it. Get the URL from there. It will be family tree. And let's try sending it. So we'll be getting an error. Yeah. So obviously, we are not passing a bearer token for authentication. So let's get a token for authentication. Let's log in, and we'll be using the same credentials earlier. So let's send. Let's copy that token. And let's add it as a bearer token. And now send it. Yeah, we are getting an empty array. Obviously, we don't have a family tree. So let's add another request. For create. And it will be a post and has a form URL encoded. So we will have name. Let's give it as my family tree. And the description is not mandatory. So let's keep it empty. And let's get the URL. Okay, it will be the same URL. And let's send it. Oops. Okay, we forgot to pass the bearer token. So we have to make sure we are sending the bearer token with every request. So let's put it there. Fine. So let's send it. Yeah, we have got the response. So we got one family tree created with the annex ID and the name with the empty description. So let's go back to index and let's try fetching it. And we are getting that. Now let's create one more tree. Let's give us a family tree 2, and let's give a description this time. Send. Okay, created. And in index we will be getting both the trees. Right. Let's add another request for show, and it will be a get. Let's create it. Let's copy that URL, and along with the show, like we have to give an ID. So let's get the ID from the one of the family trees. Let's get that. Send it. So we need to get the token. And now let's send it. We got an empty object. Yeah, it's because like, okay, we are sending an encrypted ID, and we are not decoding it in our controller. So let's do that one. See here, like we are getting the ID from the front end and using the same on the family tree to find the record. But here, like, okay, we are getting as encrypted, so we cannot find it. So let's decrypt it. Hash ID, and we have a function for decoding. So double colon decode, and let's pass the FID and decode it, and then use the ID into the find function. And we have to import the class. Yeah. So let's save and try it now. Okay. So we are getting the records. Well, now let's add the functionality for update as well. For update also, like, okay, we will be getting almost the same inputs as it is coming for the create. So let's copy that one. And here we will be getting an ID as well. So let's add to the request. And now we have to decode that ID and use it. So let's copy that decode part. Yeah. And so we are finding the family tree, and now we have to update the attributes. Name. It is what coming from the request. So in fact, we can just copy it from the create itself. It's almost the same thing. We just don't need the created by. Otherwise, it is good enough. So we're just finding the family tree and updating the details. And now return a same response. So let's see that. So we already have the API defined. So it will be like a family tree and ID and update. So let's check it. Let's add a new request. Update is a post and form URL encoded. Let's create it. So I'll show you one more thing, like, okay, we can just delete this one. So we can just duplicate one request. So let's give it as update. So the advantage is we will have the inputs and the bearer token as we have defined at the other route. So for the update, we need to pass an ID as well. So let's get the ID. Let's add to that URL. And let's update the name to 21 and add one over there. Fine. Let's send it. Okay, so we are getting the updated records. So we haven't checked database for quite some time. So let's see in the database as well. So let's go for family trees. And yes, we can see all the records of the updated records and all this stuff here. And the updated by is with the user ID, which is logged in. And let's go back. And I will add a request for delete. It will be a delete request, and let's create. Let's add the token. And let's get the URL. So the URL must have the ID. I think we are not decoding the ID in the controller. So let's go back and check in the family tree controller. Yeah, we are not decoding. So let's copy that decode part. Fine. So let's save it and try. Okay, send it. Yeah, family tree deleted. So let's check in fetching. And here the one family tree has been removed. And if we see in the show, it's an empty object now. So we can see in the database as well, the record has been deleted. And now we are done with implementing the CRUD operations on the family tree controller. So in the next session, like, we will start working on view part, and make sure you're subscribed to this channel so that, okay, you will be notified when I upload it.